This video is brought to you by MoviePalette.com. Hey everyone, do you have a favorite movie that you would love to hang on your wall but you can't think of what scene or what poster to get? Well, now you can get the entire movie on one high quality canvas. With MoviePalette.com, you can get every scene from your favorite movie, or more specifically, the dominant color of every scene from your favorite movie in chronological order on a great high quality canvas. It also comes with a silver engraving of the title down at the bottom. Has rubber stoppers on the back to keep it from bouncing. And they have a huge catalog of what to choose from. Whether you're a horror fan, or a fan of sci-fi, Marvel, Japanese anime, Disney animation, drama, or Oscar classics, there's a movie palette for you. And right now, MoviePalette.com is having a sale for 50% off for their Halloween sale. But if you go right now, and if you enter room 15, you'll get 15% off of the movie palette of your choice. That's ROOM15 for 15% off of your movie palette. Again, this is a great value for a great piece of home decor that looks great for any film and for any film buff and anywhere in your home. You will definitely like this product. Mine is of The Shining, and I could not be happier with it. So definitely go to MoviePalette.com and enter ROOM15 for 15% off of your palette. Hey horror fans, welcome back to 237, back with another review. As I continue my month of October run through of Stephen King film adaptations and anthology horror films. And this is another anthology. This is one that I do not own. I've known about it for a while. I caught this on Hulu. There's actually a few on Hulu that I've checked out. One I've been putting off the review just because there's so much to digest of that film. It's ABCs of Death. Eventually I'll try to get to it for this October. There's just so much to get into. I do want to check out ABCs of Death 2 as well. But I checked this one out because it's one that's been on my radar for some time, especially the whole idea behind it I thought was very interesting. And it's a lot simpler to talk about than ABCs of Death. And as a whole, I liked it monumentally more than ABCs of Death. I do think it's a much better made film as a whole. It's from 2017 and it is XX, which I'm guessing the title stands for double X chromosome, because it's 4 deadly stories by 4 killer women. It's a completely female-helmed anthology film. One of which is a first-time director, and I was really sold on that idea alone, because if you watch my channel, anytime I've done a film, especially since I'll say at least since 2015, except for Black Christmas 2019, if there's been a film directed by a female filmmaker, it's been very solid. And some of the best directorial debuts, especially for horror, since 2015 have been female directors. The French director, whose name I always forget, but she did Raw and Titane. Raw was her debut, and I loved Raw. Saint Maud, that was a directorial debut by a female director. Incredibly solid. I loved Saint Maud. Definitely one of the best horror films since 2010. And I've seen a handful of other ones that are just very solid. First-time female directors. So this idea really appealed to me. Now, of course, it's not all the original directors that we were going to get. We have Jovanka Vukovic of Annie Clark, also known by her stage name St. Vincent. I don't know anything about her music, but the short she did was her directorial debut. Roxanne Benjamin and Karen Kusama. Originally, we were going to get Kusama Mary Herron of American Psycho, Jennifer Lynch, who did a film called Surveillance, which I hadn't seen, but she did one called Change with uh, Vincent D'Onofrio that I really liked, and Javanka Vukovic. But uh, Lynch and Heron were replaced by Roxanne Benjamin, which I know Karen Kusama, she did, Aeon Flux, Jennifer's Body, The Invitation. I didn't care for Jennifer's Body. I saw The Invitation when it first came out. I don't remember much about it. Roxanne Benjamin, she did Southbound, Body Upright and Rock. She was a producer for the first two VHS films. And of course, Annie Clark was a musician before this. So, but still, four very solid stories. I mean, this is the first anthology I've seen in a while where even the lesser stories, there's still good things to say about it. And I was really surprised. When I looked up reviews for this, it seems like a lot of people really do not like this movie. And I don't know why. For the life of me, I can't figure out why. They all wrote their own stories except for um, Javanka Vukovic, uh, who did the first story, The Box, which is based on a story by Jack Ketchum, which he's had a lot of good stories. I know he did The Girl Next Door, which is loosely based on the Sylvia Likens case. I have seen that, but I didn't direct it. I didn't review it. Excuse me. Also, Sofia Carrillo did the wraparound, and I say wraparound very loosely because it is in the beginning, at the end, and in between each segment. Absolutely beautiful stop motion animation. I'm a huge sucker for stop motion, even if it's bad. This isn't Tim Burton stop motion. It looks more like a music video. It's very abstract. It's very glitchy kind of stop motion, which I like. With like this dollhouse on a table with a drawer. It's got like a baby doll face up on the roof. It's just walking around the house, this big creepy mansion, and pick stuff up, put stuff like, we'll see like a cockroach crawl down, go inside the front door, and it'll shut, or put a dead bird inside this baby doll, and the head will spin with different expressions. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's creepy. It's abstract. I loved it. It's not a good wraparound because it doesn't really do anything to link the stories together or sort of create any kind of hosting narrative. But it is gorgeous to look at and very atmospheric as well. I loved the stop motion segments. So, not the best wraparound, but very awesome to watch. So, the first segment, it really reminded me of The Killing of a Sacred Deer, which is an A24 film. One of my favorite films, horror or otherwise, since 2010. That whole decade, Killing of a Sacred Deer, one of my favorite films. I know a lot of people didn't like it because of the dry acting, the sort of lack of answers or character choices. I thought it was spectacular. And this is similar in the vein of just what the family goes through and just not being able to figure out why. She has this mother. Well, before I get into it, we had The Box, The Birthday Party, which the birthday party was the one directed by Andy Clark. Don't Fall, which is the one directed by Roxanne Benjamin and Andy Clark. Okay, so Andy Clark, oh, that's The Birthday Party. Birthday Party was written by Roxanne Benjamin, Andy Clark, directed by Clark. I thought I was on the next one. Don't Fall, written and directed by Roxanne Benjamin, and Her Only Living Son, directed by Karen Kusama. They're all solid. The Birthday Party is definitely my favorite. it has this tongue-in-cheek, dark humor tone throughout, but it's done well. It is kind of dry. It is like this dry, awkward, The Office type comedy. It very, very, very easily could have gone totally slapstick and become like Weekend at Bernie's, which I'm glad it didn't, because I thought the dry approach to the dark humor really fit this story. I would say my least favorite was probably Don't Fall. It's kind of a generic monster movie. You know, it take like Hills Have Eyes, but a skinwalker essentially. I I don't think the creature effects were that bad. More so interesting upon close up, but it's very short. It's very simple. And then the last one, Her Only Living Son, is basically we need to talk about Kevin meets Rosemary's Baby. I, that's really what it is. And one thing I can say throughout every segment, you know, the birthday party being my favorite, Don't Fall being probably my least favorite, but still fairly solid or passable, is the cinematography is gorgeous throughout all four segments. It's all beautifully directed, very well directed. Um, this was put out by it was put out by Magnet, but it was made by XYZ. Excuse me. I've seen a handful of really good of independent films by XYZ. They're not quite IFC or A24, but or RLJE, but XYZ is still very solid. So they're all wonderfully directed, beautifully directed, great cinematography. They all look great. So that's a constant. I wonder if Annie Clark or St. Vincent did the music for the birthday party, because that's really the only one that has kind of a score, which is really during the last portion of it, and I really liked that music. At first, I was thinking the birthday party had a lot of like uh, jump scare music stings, but then I started getting more into the humor of it, and I think a lot of them were just as a joke, not intentionally trying to be like a jump scare. But yeah, her only living son, you can definitely tell where it's going. You know, it feels like it might be sort of a blooming serial killer. But by the way everyone's acting, you can tell where it's going. So I guess I'll get into spoilers, but yeah, all four segments are, you know, really, really well done, very well executed. You know, like I always said when I'm judging an anthology film, I look at the shorts. Do they feel like ideas, like not really delved into fleshed out ideas, or are they short stories, you know, with a beginning, middle, and an end? Which that's something I kind of had to let go of for ABCs of Death, which I'll get to when I talk about that. Please keep the comments about uh, XX. I know I mentioned ABCs of Death, but we don't need to talk about all our favorite segments in the comments for this film. I will be reviewing it, so just wait for the comments on that. Um, but yeah, all solid. They range from very, very well done, very well executed, well acted, well written, well directed, to generic but still well made enough to make it passable. So there's no, I wouldn't say there's a dud anywhere in this. So it is one of the better anthologies I've seen in a while. So it's on Hulu. Definitely recommend it. Uh, you know, just there is something to female directors. They every time I watch a film by a female director, even if it's not a good movie, the direction and the look is always one of the high points. So it, that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to check this film out, and I was not disappointed. So, getting into spoilers. So the box, I said, reminded me of Killing of a Sacred Deer because you have this mom and her two kids. They're on the subway. There's this weird guy in like a trench coat and a hat. Looks like if you take, well, kind of looks like German serial killer Joachim Kroll. He's got this big Christmas package. Takes place during the holiday season. And the son keeps asking him what's in the box, like 7. Mother keeps telling him to leave him alone. The guy says it's all right. He lets him have a peek. And we don't see what's in the box, which is good. And this is one of those stories people are good, because I'm a big fan of ambiguity. As long as the greater idea is better executed. Here, it's not important what's in the box, and we don't ever get to see it. I know there's people out there, and this is part of my enjoyment as well, is that there are people that need answers to everything. Like, I'm surprised they're not campaigning for a sequel story or a feature-length adaptation of this story, so we can see what's in the box. Why did it have this effect on this family? That's not important. What is important is that we get a close-up of the kid's face. We see him go from excited to just shut down. He has no emotion. He's completely, has no appetite. His parents think maybe he's sneaking food, or maybe he's sick, or maybe he's just not okay, but not in a big deal. By day 3, he's still refusing food. And again, that is kind of what reminded me of Killing of a Sacred Deer, but then it grew more because one day he's talking to his sister, then his sister starts to refuse food, then the dad pulls him aside saying, what did you tell your sister? He whispers in his ear, then the dad starts refusing food. So it is just kind of like this mysterious a medical anomaly that can't be detected by doctors in the hospital. They seem fine. It seems like a curse, or it's more elaborated in Killing of a Sacred Deer, but the ambiguity I thought worked. The horror itself is more, what I took it as was kind of like a metaphorical story of when there's something wrong with a loved one and no one can figure out what it is. Because eventually, the kids die from starvation. The husband follows shortly after. The mother even starts having dreams that they're eating happily, then they start eating her. And even this has some kind of dry acting. They're not really emoting as much as they probably should, which I know was a big criticism for Sacred Deer. But I think that was for an effect, because there is a scene where the dad loses his shit and just like slams the table and yells, and it is a big moment. To me, the horror is having this whole thing go on and just not being able to detect and solve the issue health-wise. It's not about what was in the box or why it did it. Though, I mean, there are people that if someone says, well, we got to go there right now, and it shows them walking out the door and then cut to them arriving, people will say it's a crappy movie because it doesn't show them driving there or show how they got there. People will campaign for a sequel or a prequel or something to show, well, did they walk? Did they take a car? Did they stop for gas? I mean, what happened? I mean, people need every little acute detail, even if it's not important. In this, the ambiguity works. Birthday Party, which this one has Melanie Linsky, who I'm sure people will remember as the crazy neighbor from Two and a Half Men. She was in Stephen King's Rose Red. I've seen her in a handful of things. She's this woman who, it's her daughter's birthday. She, the mother, suffers from anxiety, and she ruins her daughter's birthday every year. Some sort of breakdown or something. Well, now she's determined not to do that. She's got this perfect birthday party planned. And the morning of, she happens to find that her husband died. Now, it doesn't come out and say suicide or accident, but it was alcohol mixed with her anxiety pills. And she is so determined to not let this birthday party go to hell that she spends the whole story trying to hide the body. Now, the comedy lies in, every time she gets a hold of him and starts dragging him, phone call, knock on the door, the daughter comes running up to her or needing something. It's her sister or her friend is there helping set up for the party. Someone is getting in her way. It is just her increasing frustration and anxiety trying to hide this body. And that's it. That's the story. It's very simple. It is low-key, just trying to hide the body before this event. The humor is dry. It is more awkward, yes. But I think that works to the benefit. I think that works better for this more anxiety-filled character. Because, again, this could have turned into, like, Weekend at Bernie's and been fully slapstick. But it has this dark, somber tone to it that I does think help. It does help out the darkness of the humor as well. It has a great payoff. I love the payoff of this short. Well, before I get to that, you just see her, you see her eyes just kind of water up every time there's a knock, and her just trying to get rid of people each time, and while she's still trying to be like, well, okay, smile, happy. That finally, she's got her arms under his arms, dragging him, knock at the door, and she literally just goes, fuck. I thought that was funny. Well, there's this guy, Joe Swanson. Joe Swanson. That's Family Guy. Joe Swanberg, who was a director on at least, I think, the first VHS. He's this singing telegram in a full-body panda suit. She buys the suit off of him and then puts the husband in the panda suit, and then guests start arriving. And it's kind of slow motion with all the kids going in. Again, shot beautifully. Really like the music. The dad sitting at the table in this panda suit, just silent. At this point, she just doesn't care. It shows her just dumping a flask into her drink, and parents are just looking at each other. And then, out of nowhere, the dad just slumps forward. A couple of the moms pick him up. They go to take the head off, and in slow motion, she goes to stop him, but then his head drops. All the kids see. They all start screaming. Parents start screaming, and she just, that's what I was trying to avoid. And then it ends. Unfortunately, great payoff. There was a good joke too, because I meant to mention this earlier. We get all the titles twice. We get the title of the segment during the stop motion wraparound, but then we get the title again during the actual short. So we get the titles twice. I think some of them we even get it at the end as well. So at the end we get the birthday party, and it was this really long title that unfortunately I cannot remember, but that was a joke as well, something to the effect of the secret death of Emily's dad. Her mother tried to hide or something, but it wasn't her fault, which her therapist says is probably is probably why she has a fear of intimacy. Something to that effect, but this really long title that was a good joke. I thought that was funny. Definitely my favorite segment of the four. So then we get to Don't Fall, which uh, this one did have someone I recognized. It was Angela Trimber. She was the skanky friend from Rob Zombie's H2. You know, the one that had like the cross-dressing uh, themed costume. These four friends, or these two couples, and they're your typical college age uh, nature stoner hippie, group. I didn't really like the characters. I didn't think they were that interesting. The only one I kind of liked was the guy with the glasses, just because he's kind of a cynic. But yeah, they're out in. Oh, does it even say where they were? This sort of hills have eyes type of area. Um, no, it just says the desert. It is called Don't Fall, and one of the friends, Gretchen, has a fear of heights, but they find this cave with these paintings. Uh, that night, they're all smoking pot. They go in the RV. Gretchen wanders off. Some CGI shadow attacks her. She becomes this kind of skinwalker creature, tall, scrawny, long fingers. The close up of her face looked kind of cool. Almost looked like a skull, like cracked skin, like sunken in eyes. It really just screeches. That's all it does. But it gets a hold of you. It claws and scratches you up. The only shot that I thought was kind of creepy or scary was when she's up on the RV and just like appears upside down through the windshield or rear window. But she kills all of them. The guy with the glasses gets killed off screen. Well, on screen but obscured in the RV. He's down beneath the window so you can't see him. She's clawed, blood comes up on the window, and then the Angela Trimber, whatever her name is, she's running, falls off a cliff, and this was well done. We see her bang on the rocks all the way down. Good sound design. She lands, her bones sticking out, and we just see the creature come together. It's the shortest one. It's the most straightforward and simple. I didn't dislike it. I mean, it's definitely generic. It's a straightforward monster type story, but it was still well shot. This one definitely had the characters I cared for the least. And then we have her only living son, which the first half is we need to talk about Kevin, where I do want to get the mother's name because this is the one directed by Karen Kusama, who did Jennifer's Body, The Invitation. Because the mom, Cora, played by Christina Kirk, who, okay, she was in Bug 2002, which people talk shit about. I did not mind that movie. Oh, what? 2002. Oh, that's not the one I'm thinking of. I was thinking about the one with Michael Shannon. But she kind of reminded me of like a Tilda Swinton. She gets called into her son's school. Her son Andy, he's in his teens. The mother of this one girl is there, and she's saying something has to be done about your kid. They got in a fight. He ripped off one of her fingernails, and we've all heard stories about how he treats other kids, how violent he is, and something needs to be done. So you kind of get the idea that, and he's about to turn 18. So you kind of get the idea that he's a blooming serial killer, showing signs. But I started to think, well, wait, it, this is going to make a turn. This is not going to be that straightforward. The the principal and one of the teachers say, well, we're not going to punish him. There's nothing we can do. He's too good of a student. He's this prodigy that we cannot get in the way of. And I'm like, okay, something's up. And then there's this male guy that keeps dropping in. And the second he started going on his tirade of like his time is now. We are ready for him. I'm like, okay, he's acted very culty, very worshipy. It's got to be like a Rosemary's Baby-esque twist. And that's what it is. He's the son of the devil. Which before that, she hears noises coming from the bathroom. He's in there. She opens the door. He freaks out. There's blood in there. Then there's the scene with the mailman. And then she goes and looks in his room. He's got this shoebox with all these blackened, nails, finger or toenails, and then the one he ripped off the girl. She's hiding in the closet because he comes home, and we see that he takes his shoe off. He's got long, black, almost like werewolf toenails. Which we do get some flashbacks to when he was a baby, and he has like black fingernails. It's like he's like crawling in bed with her. And the mailman's talking like, well, he's not really your son. He's all of our sons. But yeah, he's the son of the devil. But this one probably has the best acting, especially from the mom character. I mean, she was very, very good. It really just ends with him asking who his father is. Why have you lied to me my whole life? People are talking about my father, talking about me. I want to know. And she's just going on this tirade of, it doesn't matter. I'm the one that's here for you. Your father never made an appearance when you had chicken pox or when this happened or when that happened. It was always just me. And we see this switch when he goes from saying like, I have fantasies about hurting you. I have dreams about an empire of pain. He makes her crawl over to him. But then they hug, and it's because the house goes black. There's all this noise. She's like hugging him, telling the story about his birth. And from what I got, it just ends with it's when he's making her bow towards him. It's when he's about to accept his role, because his birthday is his 18th birthday. Accept his role. He's sort of being collected by Satan. And she hugs him, tells him the story as to why they go into hiding and move around a lot, and how he was born. And pretty much tells him that, it's up to you. You can either fulfill your destiny and rule with your father, or you cannot. And I guess it's implied that he decides not to. And as they're holding each other, I don't know if it's just Satan getting mad and just making their bones break as they stand there, because we hear the crunching sounds or blood come out of their mouth. And then it just ends with them lying in a pool of their blood on the kitchen floor. Pan back, and happy birthday cake. So I would say it's a nice blend of We Need to Talk About Kevin and Rosemary's Baby. But if they were going for a twist, the way the supporting, surrounding characters were acting is kind of a dead giveaway. And then, we have the final stop motion segment, which is the dollhouse goes into this room, sees this live human girl with like a dollhouse door on her chest. Dollhouse opens it, puts a bird in it, closes it, the girl comes alive. And again, not a good wraparound because it doesn't link the stories together in any way or feel like it's hosting anything. But they are gorgeous and very interesting to look at. Very abstract, dark, creepy, atmospheric. Huge sucker for stop motion. But yeah, that's the movie. I I liked all four stories. At the very least, I could say I liked them. I loved Birthday Party. I did like the box. I mean, it felt like it could have delved into more. I guess not what was in the box, but yeah, I liked the box. I did like her only living son. I do feel like it kind of gave itself away a bit too early. The only one I could say was the worst. The one I could say is the worst would be Don't Fall. But even then, it's just because it's kind of generic. It's very fast. It's short, but it's still well shot. All four beautifully directed. They they look great. Very well shot. Very well directed. But the Birthday Party is the shining uh, segment with a perfect blend of sort of realistic horror, I guess, but it really handled the dark comedy very, very well, especially going for this very dry, awkward route instead of very slapsticky, over the top. It's more tongue in cheek. So, yeah, I was not disappointed by this. I went into it thinking, hey, the last handful of films I've seen by uh, female filmmakers, especially if it was their directorial debut, have really, really impressed me. So I'm really into this, and I wasn't disappointed. And again, the only one that was a directorial debut, Andy Clark, The Birthday Party, happened to be the best one. So yeah, as a whole, I really liked this movie. Uh, I would really only say Don't Fall was the only one that falls short of the only one I'm kind of mixed on, or could say I just like it. But overall, very solid anthology. I'm glad I finally checked it out. Uh, Not even comparable because they're so different, but this is much easier to talk about and easier to digest than something like ABCs of Death, which a lot of I did not like. But hopefully I'll be able to get to that before the end of October. I do have at least one more Stephen King film that I want to get to. I do want to do ABCs of Death 1 and 2 before the end of October. Hopefully Lamb will be in soon so I can do that. And then hopefully do the Stephen King ranking videos. And then I do have a big marathon planned for November, which I'll probably reveal on Halloween. We'll see. I do have one movie planned for the day of Halloween. It's not Stephen King. It's not an anthology. It's very Halloween themed. Everyone's kind of already talked about it. It'll just be my turn. So stay tuned for all of those, and thank you for watching.